Hey Tommy, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be seen.
Well, for sure. We're always glad to have you on the channel. We've interviewed you before. We got to go to the Free Tommy protest when we were in London, and you're an author, commentator, journalist. You've done a heck of a lot of work commenting on things like Islam and immigration, some things which really aren't talked about all that much these days. If anyone isn't following you for some reason yet, I think tr.news is the best place where they can find you right now. And aside from that, if anyone's watching this on YouTube, your channel on YouTube will be linked in the description, but people won't be able to search you. And I was thinking we could start off this interview talking about why that is. You've essentially all been banned from YouTube. Your channel is still up, but people they can't search your videos. I tried going into incognito mode. I searched for your name, your channel specifically, your videos. They don't show up. You've been banned from Facebook officially, totally gone. I think Snapchat most recently. Why don't you walk us through what happened there?
Well, if we start with YouTube, so you're right. You can't find my videos. You can't share them. You can't comment on them. I've been banned. Pretty much banned. You have to have the direct link. So
Right.
if I send you the direct link to a video, you'll be able to watch it once you go past the it may be a harmful video. Even if it's a video, even the videos where I've raised money for children with cancer, they come up with all of these explicit warnings now. Now, YouTube made a comment. They come under immense pressure by politicians. That's where this gets really, really sinister, because it is completely political. Tom Watson is the second in command of the Labour Party in the UK. That's the anti-Semitic party,
Right.
the opposition party. He wrote a letter to YouTube demanding that my videos and my channel be deleted and removed. Of course, giving no justification, just using the word hate. YouTube then made a public response saying that none of my videos breach any of their policies. There's also a video online you can watch where you'll see Naz Shah, who's a Muslim Labour MP, who's actually been anti-Semitic herself. She's also made comments about white victims of rape gangs, saying they need to just shut their mouths for the sake of diversity. This is an MP. So this MP, Yvette Cooper, another Labour MP, all these MPs, there's a video of them grilling the CEO of YouTube. This was about 18 months ago, demanding to know why my videos are still available to be watched. This is the problem where we currently face now in Britain, not just in Britain, across the world actually, but private businesses are having immense pressure put on them by political organisations to remove dissident voices. I'm a voice that continues to embarrass the British establishment, to embarrass their political parties for what they've allowed to happen in our country, and to raise awareness about the problems that their utopia world they want to bring in and change the culture and identity of our country forever. I talk about it. So I was removed from YouTube. I've been banned. They can call it whatever they want. The only reason why they haven't actually banned me is because they've already said publicly that I've not broke any of their terms or conditions. Facebook have removed me. I had 1.2 million. I was the most interacted with political Facebook page in Britain. I had a reach and an interaction that politicians could only dream of. If I went live, I'd have 20,000 people watching me instantly. That would then spread to millions by the next day. As we've seen with the Donald Trump election, even with the Modi election, with elections across the world, the social media has been used. And the establishment and the deep state, if you want to call it that in America, but the powers that be in Britain are pulling back and taking back control. And that's what they're doing. They're taking back control, and the only way they can do that is by silencing and demonetizing and stopping the opposition's voices. So yeah, I currently sit here, and that's why I said it's good to be seen, because I've been completely unpersoned from all social media, even Snapchat, Instagram. And the maddest thing is, I've done nothing wrong. They run with these lies. They keep saying that I promoted violence against Muslims. Show me where. Show me one screenshot that I done that. Because there's so many journalists who dislike me, who follow every word I've said on social media. They'd have a screenshot. There'd be some evidence of this. But no, there's not. So yeah, unfortunately, this is the path we've gone down now, of deplatforming any opposition. And it starts, and people can sit there and ignore it while it happens to someone they don't like that much, but it's coming to them.
Right, and I'm glad you mentioned that. I think specifically with Facebook, because like you said, YouTube, they've come out and said that you haven't done anything that's violated their terms of service. But I was reading when I first heard that you had gotten banned from Facebook, and Facebook is, like you said, claiming that you actually are not just spreading hate speech, whatever that may mean, that nebulous term, but they're accusing you of, I think it's calls to, quote, make war against Muslims. And not only that, that's from their official statement, but there's a rumor going around on some of the, I guess, more left-leaning blogs that you, not only that, but you encouraged the beheading of Muslims. No screenshots, of course, but that's what people are saying about you as someone who, you know, essentially makes their life, their living, their career, what they're passionate about, trying to engage in the political discourse. How does that make you feel, the fact that people are accusing you of trying to behead people?
Well, I have no outlet to even deny it. I have no outlet to even counter it. For years, whenever anyone would make a derogatory comment or a lie, specifically a lie, politicians would do it all the time on Twitter. I'd quote, tweet their tweet, and I'd put the truth, and I'd give evidence of where to find them. Once they removed me from there, now if you search Twitter, it's just lots of people telling lots of lies. And there's no outlet for me to counter it. With the lies on Facebook about me calling for the beheading of people, we have strict laws in this country, yeah,
right,
that prohibit incitement to violence, incitement to racial hatred, incitement to religious hatred. I've never been arrested or tried under any of these laws. I've never breached any of those laws. The British establishment who have locked me up and imprisoned me for simply reporting, they would be smashing down my door if I said one thing like that. I've never. It's quite contradictory. I think that the quotes that they're quoting are actually reversed from the certain scripture within the Quran. But yeah, I have no platform, and that's what's supposed to happen. This is supposed to happen. This lie is supposed to be spread around the world, which absolutely slanders me and paints a very different picture of who I am from the reality of who I am, and especially of what I believe in. I galvanised so much support because people could see and hear what I was saying. If I was sat calling for violence, I wouldn't have support. The majority of the public despise that sort of view. I'm along with them on it. But yeah, it's frustrating, of course. It's then just trying to find other ways and make other plans, which is what I'm currently doing. And it's sad to see that no one stands up for you when this is going on. You can be deplatformed from absolutely everywhere. And as I said, we have 650 MPs in my country, and all of them are celebrating it. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen one person comment on how this is dangerous for free speech, because, quite frankly, in America, while you should grab hold of that free speech and defend it, we've given it away, and most of us don't even value it. And in fact, our leaders certainly don't. They don't want free speech. They want a dictatorship.
Yeah, and I think it's important that you do emphasize that this isn't just about who you are as a person. These people are silencing you for your ideas, and you're not the first person in the, I guess, essentially big tech gulag that we've had on this channel. Someone else we've interviewed is Gavin McInnes, who's been similarly deplatformed, and what he's actually doing now is he's trying to take legal action against these media outlets that are slandering him. We're going to go into a documentary you recently released about the BBC in a few minutes, but have you considered doing anything like that for the lies that are being spread about you, the ones that can be proven to be verifiably false, like the fact that you called supposedly for the beheading of people?
I have. I've been speaking with friends in America, actually. I've been speaking with Middle East Forum, who I know are very staunch on their defence of whether they agree with your views wholeheartedly, but their defence of free speech and the fact that you should be allowed to speak. I've been speaking with them and looking at these options. The problem is, in the UK, I recently took Cambridgeshire Police to court. Now, there was a video. You have to watch this video, okay? I was out with my children, I was out with my family. I was in the city of Cambridge. And police come into the restaurant I was in and said, "You need to leave the city now." So I haven't done anything wrong. He said, "We believe that if you stay here, your presence will provoke a violent reaction from people. So you have to leave the city now, or we're going to arrest you." And there was this discussion in front with the police. I then walk outside. I get I'm with my 3 young children and my friends and their young children. And the police then follow us, videoing us with cameras, as my children cry hysterically and are clearly terrified on camera of what the police are doing. I took the police to court. It cost me £10,000 to take them to court. I took them to court. the police from Luton, my hometown, come to court and said it shouldn't have happened. He's no problem. This should never have happened. The judge still sided and said that what they did was reasonable and necessary. So we live in a country where, and if you watch this video, if you put in, well, God, you can't anymore because it's on my YouTube channel. But it was under Tommy Robinson kids. That's all you had to put in. And you'll see a video where quite clearly we were harassed. Quite clearly the police accepted in court I'd done nothing at all wrong. I was out minding my own business with my family. But yet the court sided with the police, which they will do. They moved my court case from one city to another city the day before. I then got before a judge who didn't just side with them, but at the end of that case, she charged me all the court costs, which was £38,000. Now, if you watch this video, you will be absolutely gobsmacked. And so would the public. This video went viral, millions of views. Even people who don't like me made comments saying how wrong this is. How can this happen in a free society? And that's the real wake-up call. We don't live in a free society. We don't. If you're sitting in America and you have freedom of speech, you have all your freedoms. You need to fight for them, because like that, look at the country. I'm from Britain. I'm from the home of the Magna Carta. It's gone. It's gone. Free speech is gone. We live in a police state. We live in a post-free speech era. You'll be prosecuted for your thoughts, and that's currently where we're at. So for me, when I look at these court cases, I have another case coming up now for the same thing. You said you went to the Free Tommy rally. They're recharging me with the same offence that I've already spent nearly 3 months on solitary confinement for. The same offence, which was for speaking and giving facts that were already in the public domain. I'm going to face prison again on the 3rd of May for that. So,
and I think most reasonable people, if they see a father and his young children being harassed by the police for just sitting around doing nothing, they realize that that's insane. You're an authoritarian extremist, and that should be wrong. But what I notice so often about the people who advocate for your depersoning, your deplatforming, is that in their minds, they're doing it to protect people, because you are your views are so dangerous and so hateful that they have to stop you before they spread. And I saw a lot of this kind of reasoning going around on social media, especially after the Christchurch shooting. And I know, unfortunately, you are one of the people who, along with other figures, not even necessarily on the right, but people like Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, and Candace Owens, who have been blamed for spreading Islamophobia. What's your response to that specifically, the idea that you were in any way connected with the Christchurch shooting that happened in New Zealand?
When they speak about my views being dangerous, I think we should make it very clear what my views are as well. Very clear what my views are. So the Christchurch shooting was a gentleman. It's very confusing, actually, because he spent time in Pakistan, in Turkey. He went to a lot of the ISIS strongholds, which is quite strange. But he was a white supremacist. I despise white supremacy. I see Nazism and Islamism as opposite sides of the same coin. Okay, both dangerous, both need confronting, both need. With Nazism or with racism, you can educate against it. It's just education. You can educate against it. People need to understand where I'm from. I'm from Luton Town, which is one of the most diverse and multicultural towns in Europe. Okay, the majority of the people I love and my friends are not white. Okay, the people I aspired and I looked up to as I grew up, the people I wanted to be like, were not white. So I've never understood white supremacy. Where the town I'm from, white English people are a minority. And I've always said this, that when we hear leaders talk, whether it be Angela Merkel says multiculturalism failed, David Cameron, multiculturalism's failed, I always say that's a lie for me. What's failed is Islam. Because in my town, all the other cultures, all the other religions, everyone else, we get on pretty well. Obviously there's differences and there's problems in every community, but in all, we get on pretty well. So my view, I had a journalist trying to attack me over the Christchurch terrorism. At which point I said, have you read his manifesto? Because his manifesto doesn't mention me once.
Right.
In fact, his manifesto tells you why he done it. It's just like Breivik's manifesto told you why he's done it. It's just like Darren Osborne, the terrorist who drove a van into the Finsbury Park Mosque. In his letter that he wrote, he told you why he done it. Now you want to take the reasons he done it and you want to change it and put it onto the people who are trying to discuss these issues. In fact, you're doing exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted guns taken away, free speech taken away. He wanted to radicalise a generation. That's what they wanted to do. And you're actually implementing. So on the Christchurch attack, on the monster that done it. And I have continually for 10 years, the far right, and we get called the far right, but the real far right, who are very small in number, very ineffective, okay, in the UK, they hate me. I'm known as a Zionist shill, okay, by them, because I don't hate Jews, okay? I'm known as a race traitor because I love non-white people. So the reality is very far. I have never called for violence. In fact, I've always said that and in fact, Breivik, for example, in his manifesto, he said that the English Defence League are naive fools. They all condemn acts of violence. This is what he said, yeah? They believe there's a democratic solution and answer to this problem, which he didn't, okay? But yet, they tried to throw Breivik at us. Then they tried to throw Darren Osborne at us. Even though none of it is mentioned by us. They actually tried to blame me in this country for the Darren Osborne attack. Darren Osborne attacked on a day where there was a terrorist rally, flying terrorist flags. He said why he went to do it. Because we'd had 4 consecutive terrorist attacks in our country. One of them, 26 children were bombed and blown up. And then weeks after that, we have a rally through our capital city, supported by our Mayor of London, where they're flying terrorist organisation flags. And he was a member of the British public, went and committed an atrocious act of violence. That's not my fault. I will never, and just as I said to the reporter who tried to throw Christchurch on me, I'm not going to stop telling the truth because of a deranged individual. I'm not going to stop telling the truth. I have no shame in telling the truth. In fact, I want to protect Muslims. Some of the best people I met through growing up were Muslim. But they are naive to the agenda of Islam. They are naive to the path we will go down, the more Islam. And many of them, many Muslims, if I go to a local betting shop in my hometown, there's many Muslims in there. Many of them aren't following the scripture to the word. My problem is the scripture, it's the book, it's the prophet, or the false prophet, and it's the hatred and the violence that's taught through. So yeah, with Christchurch, just like most other innocent people, they use that, and it's disgusting actually, and quite despicable the way it's used. Whenever there's attack, like the way it's used to just silence and attack and try and cause more censorship of ideas. If my ideas are that bad, if my views are that bad, I'm yet to be defeated in any debate I see by anybody on these issues, because I have truth on my side. If my ideas are that bad, debate me. I'll debate anyone, anywhere, in any place. And I always say this. But because of each time I've been on the mainstream media in Britain, whether it be Newsnight or the biggest shows, because I come off with pretty good support and people hear the truth of what I'm saying, that doesn't fit into the narrative and agenda that they have, which is why censorship is their only solution.
Well, that willingness to debate is not something that we see from establishment media or establishment politicians anymore. In fact, even like you mentioned, the actual white supremacists who they claim to hate, they don't even seem willing to tackle what they're actually saying. I think it's a lot easier for them to just blame it on, honestly, in my opinion, level-headed people like yourself. But that unwillingness to engage in genuine and honest debate is something that you recently took on headfirst on your channel, and it's on your website, which again will be linked in the description. But you released a documentary called Panodrama, and it's over an hour long. It's free to watch if anyone hasn't seen it yet. You and the BBC have an interesting relationship right now. The BBC, for people who don't know that are watching maybe from the States or Canada, is the publicly funded broadcasting channel in the UK. How does it feel to essentially have your own government's media wing try to blackmail former employees into releasing false statements about yourself?
Well, let's publicly funded, forced publicly funded.
Right.
They actually put you in prison if you don't pay your license fee for the BBC. Now, people are fed up of that. People are fed up of paying for biased broadcasting. What I found out, and I was terrified from it, I found out that the BBC were working on a documentary with the working title Tommy Takedown. This was after, basically, when I went to prison, I was put in prison and it was in the court of law, the highest court in the land, found that it was completely unlawful, unjust, and no procedures were followed. So I was released on an appeal. Now, when I went to prison, 600,000 people signed a petition for my release. You said you saw the demonstrations where up to 30,000 people marched. In one 4-week period, 172 million people read my tweets. 69 million people watched my videos just on Facebook. That installs fear into the establishment, who want people to think the way they want, who want to use the media as a weapon. The media is currently used and weaponized to make the public think a certain way, to think certain ways about people, about organizations, about groups, about countries, about everything. And we have, and our politicians talk about Russia and about their media. I think the BBC's worse. What they do is worse. And so I found out, and it will become very quick and very clear, that the BBC have been working with extremist organisations called Hope Not Hate, who are like a George Soros-funded NGO, who constantly's job is to constantly attack anyone who talks out against open borders or immigration. Anyone. They go after them. They find out where they work. They find out who their family are. They take pictures of them. They harass them. They publicise them. They contact their work. They make them lose their jobs. This is what they do. Yeah? They were working with the BBC, which straight away for me was, the BBC is supposed to be impartial. This isn't impartial. You're working with an extremist organisation who are named by Swedish army intelligence as being far left hatred groups. And you're working with them in order to bring me down. I then found out that they weren't just working with them. I sent a girl wearing undercover cameras into Panorama to meet the leader and the face of Panorama. His name's John Sweeney. He's the main face. I sent her in, and what I found was that they were telling her what to say about me in an interview. Where's your journalist integrity in that? Yeah, telling her what they want her to say and what they need her to say, and if she says these things, they will all go in the programme. I then found out that Hope Not Hate were being used to blackmail former employees of mine in order to give negative reviews on TV about me, in order to lie about me. Not just blackmailing them, they actually sexually assaulted one of them. When you hear the undercover recording. So I went undercover. So Panorama are famous for going undercover. So I went undercover on Panorama to show and prove to the British public, which I managed to do in a really hard-hitting documentary. In fact, I'd say it's one of the most investigative journalist documentaries there's ever been in this country against the BBC. And what it showed was the BBC are not impartial, that they lie. The most alarming thing of all was that the young girl who used to work for me had been offered £5,000 by Hope Not Hate. She'd been offered to do a front-page news story, making me like Harvey Weinstein to work for. So I had that allegation, which terrified me. I'm a family man. I've got 3 children. I was petrified of what school would be like for my children going into school and things like this. That's when I went undercover. I sent the girl undercover. What I had John Sweeney is the main face of Panorama. I had him on camera talking to this girl about an innocent dispute me and the girl had about a Muslim speaker at a demonstration. And she says I was swearing. And then she said, yeah, I was swearing back at him and I was going really mad. He says, don't worry, we can clip that. We can edit that. Yeah? Then he says, do you know what I can do with this? And he sits there laughing. I'm going to make this into a sexual thing against Tommy Robinson. Now, this is not journalism. This is state-sponsored terrorism against individuals. They wanted to absolutely destroy my name, to break me, to destroy my family. Because what? Because I embarrass them? Because the public listen to me? When I talk, people listen? That's reality of what it is. And the mainstream media, the monopoly that they've had, the monopoly the establishment have had, the governments have had, the media have had, all working and coordinating together. The monopoly Silicon Valley have had, all of them, in deciding how people think. Well, we took that from them, and people are now listening. So what was their answer? I released this documentary, Panodrama. I've screened it on a 50-foot screen outside BBC's offices to a crowd of approximately 10,000. I put it on Facebook. Within 24 hours, it had over 1.5 million views. Within 24 hours, that's when I was then completely removed from Facebook, Instagram. I was completely shut down within 24 hours. Now, not a conspiracy theorist, but make your own mind up on that one, yeah? I was removed, and that's when all the lies come out about me wanting to behead people, and I was completely censored. And it's at that point that the Conservative Party and the Labour Party began harassing and contacting YouTube, demanding I was removed from there. Now, the video had 1.6 million views, I believe, on YouTube. You won't find that now. You'll struggle to find it. If you go on tr.news, you'll find the link. We're now working. I didn't realise any of this would happen, so I'm sort of like playing catch up with building platforms. But yeah, that's the history of Panodrama. It's a fabulous documentary for any of you who want to watch it and share it. It really exposes Donald Trump. When Donald Trump spoke about the BBC fake news, this proves it. This proves it.
Right, and the thing is, someone who's watching this interview who hasn't seen the documentary yet, their inclination might be to say this sounds ridiculous. There's no way that someone who works for the BBC would do something like that. But I think people need to understand that you have this on tape. You have this gentleman on tape trying to, I guess, accuse you or making up Weinstein allegations. Again, if anyone hasn't seen it, I encourage you to watch it. But what I also thought was deliciously ironic is that the journalist, I mean, I use that term loosely, journalist, right? But Tom Sweeney, you have him on tape using things like, what is it? The phrase scumbag Irish, I think it was.
He spoke about my family being from scumbag Irish background. Scumbag
right.
Because they're poor. Okay, this is the classism and the elitism that was there, and it was gold because I had all this footage on him, and then they think the BBC thought, and they brought all of their executive producers. They thought they were there and they were going to be grilling me. But I'd set up a projector screen behind me. So as I sat down, the first thing I asked him was, "Would you ever tell anyone what to say about me in an interview, John?" He said no. I pressed play, and there he is telling someone what to say. I then said to him, "Tell me about homophobia, John," because if they had one single word on me, they'd have destroyed me with it. I had him on camera calling people bloody woofters, talking about a gay person. In fact, he was quite obsessed with gays, with the comments he continually made. But then he called him a bloody woofter. And woofter in Britain is Cockney rhyming slang for poofter, which unfortunately is when your anus expands and you have all these problems with it. This is the derogatory, one of the most derogatory terms you could use. That's what he used. He was racist in his commentary. When we had him on camera, he was committing expensive scandals. I had so much against him that any person who makes a comment in the BBC that's in any way like this would lose their job. But guess what? John Sweeney's still in work. He didn't lose his job. When anyone who's about to watch this documentary, when you watch it, you'll be gobsmacked. This man, and not just his man, still in work, but they're still doing the Panorama documentary on me. They're still operating now. Just last week, they were contacting people, still interviewing them about me. So, but the best thing about it is that they've been exposed, completely exposed. Their lies, their manipulation, their editing, the way he says clearly on camera, we'll cut that, we'll edit that, to paint a very different picture to what was being said and what happened. It was a great moment to expose the mainstream media for everyone to see in such an enjoyable way. But it could have been very different. That's what I keep saying. Imagine I didn't do what I did. Imagine I didn't get the footage I did. There would have been a documentary that had gone out that would have made some absolutely horrendous claims against me. That would have destroyed my home life, my family life, my life with my children and my babies, because of what they would have been led to believe about me, which was all false. And the trust now in British media, I don't know if you're aware, but there was a European Union survey done across the whole of Europe. And the British public have the least trust in media out of any European country. Not the ex-communist countries. Britain. The people no longer believe them. They know they're lying. We know, as a British public, we're being manipulated. You're lying to us. Just like Donald Trump has said against the BBC, he called them fake news. Well, my documentary categorically proved it. And that is the reason why I've been censored and unpersoned from absolutely everywhere.
So for the people who are watching this and who are outraged and want to support you but also fight back against the BBC, what can they do to take action against this, aside from just being outraged and, of course, sharing the videos? How can they be part of something that can change the system right now?
All I'd say is that for so long I always say, it's not me, I'm not the media, you're the media. Every one of you watching this, you are the media. That's what you have to realise. The power's in your hands. It's not in their hands anymore. I don't know if you're aware of this, but you know, if you go on Facebook and write the name Tommy Robinson, or just put a picture of me, just a picture, you'll get a community guideline strike and you get warned. And they will remove your page. Even if you just share it, if I stand and have a picture taken with you, and we have our photo taken together and we upload it onto Facebook, it gets removed. This is a level of censorship that no one's ever seen.
It's literally what Stalin used to do. They're just erasing your personhood.
You can upload a picture of Hitler, it doesn't get removed. Upload a picture of Bin Laden, it doesn't get removed. Upload one of Tommy Robinson, it gets removed. Amazon, in the same week, Amazon removed my book. I have a book, Muhammad's Quran, Why Muslims Kill for Islam. It is taking the Quran, it's putting it in chronological order, date order of how it was said, because abrogation within Islam, within the Quran, abrogation, what Muhammad said later, supersedes what he said earlier, which is why it's so important to understand it in its right context, the book. Because the peaceful verses are now irrelevant. They're at the start. they're superseded by the violent verses. And we put little numbers after each verse so you can go backwards and forwards to see which verse supersedes which. We also give a 10,000 word introduction, which shows that throughout our entire history in Britain and America and in the West in general, our leaders educated the public on Islam. It was a violent fascist ideology. Not there was religion of peace. In fact, the term religion of peace only come up since George W. Bush threw it on the public after September 11th. Up until this, our clergy, the people who educated us, all of them were aware and knew what Islam was. There was no interpretation of Islam or this different interpretation. It was just, this is Islam. And that's been completely changed, I say, since the formation of the United Nations. And we wrote a book on that. It's been for sale for 2 years on Amazon. It got removed just after Panodrama as well. So you can go on Amazon and you can buy Mein Kampf. You can buy Hitler's book. You cannot buy Tommy Robinson's. So I sit here quite happy knowing that this little short Englishman from Luton Town caused so much problems for their agenda, the globalist network, that they felt the need to completely unpersonal. And essentially now what I'm planning now is I have tr.news. It's in its early stages. I want to build a studio. I want to have my own show. I think the equivalent of a studio set similar to what InfoWars has in America, I want that for Britain. I know people are crying out to hear an alternative voice, to hear the truth, to hear media without all the nonsense, without the political correctness, just telling you this is what's happening, this is who's saying, all of the stories that the public care about, all the stories that affect the little people like you watching it, the little people that they care nothing for. What we're currently witnessing now in the UK is the end of democracy with Brexit. It is now, and this will last for generations. The trust in the political system is going to be gone this Friday. The trust will be gone. They don't want us to leave. They won't want us to leave. The European Union is a dictatorship that wants to destroy anyone who goes against it. And yeah, so I'd say to people, you are the media. It's you that need to go home and talk to your families. It's you that need to talk to your friends. It's you that need to share the videos, share the articles. You need to spread it far and wide and not being embarrassed and ashamed to do so. Forget the people, because I know so many people, when they share articles or share videos, some of their friends are distasteful. Those friends need waking up. Don't feel guilty about doing it. You need to wake them up. You need to wake them up to currently what's happening in this world and the attack on our, especially in Britain, but the attack in Europe on Western civilization, our culture, our identity. It literally is it's under attack. And the minute anyone who wants to talk about it, it's called a extremist.
And that's what really boggles the mind. I mean, you've racked up millions and millions of views with essentially every major outlet and publication and government trying to silence you. That kind of, I'm wondering what would happen if they were actually not even promoting your message, but letting it spread the way other news spreads organically, right? So, I mean, with the views you've gotten, I think it really goes to show how much your supporters are invested in sharing your message, because they know it's not going to be heard any other way. But Tommy Robinson, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, you can go to tr.news to keep up with what he's doing. And thank you so much again for joining us. We wish you the best.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.